Hey everybody! Today's video is a little Q&A as a celebration for reaching 25 patrons on Patreon. Woo! If you're not aware, my Patreon is something I call my Song Workshop Society. So for $1, you can become a Song Workshop Society member and gain access to demos of songs that I write and songwriting tip sheets every month and a lot of little fun things. It's fun, you know, we have fun. So to celebrate 25 Song Workshop Society members, I have offered to film a little Q&A. So lucky for you, if you're not a society member, you also get to benefit from reaching 25 members. So let's get to the questions. Okay, question 1 comes from Stefan. Stefan says, what are your pronouns in other languages? So just so you know, I'm non-binary. My pronouns in English are they, them. But in other languages, it becomes very complicated. So, for example, in French, I usually use elle, that's I-E-L, elle. Not every non-binary francophone uses elle. Some of them prefer il or elle, depending on what flavor of non-binary they are. I like elle, and then when I'm writing, I usually will use like a combination of the masculine and feminine endings. So sometimes, like at my job, I'm an agent de communication, which is like a communications officer in English. But so we write agent like agent with a T dash E. That has both feminine and masculine as the ending. When speaking, it's a little more complicated. Yeah, I don't know. I just benefit from the fact that my French is like weak enough that I just sort of haphazardly switch between feminine and masculine, which works for me, really works. But I try and use, little workarounds, like instead of saying une chanteuse or un chanteur, like a singer, I would say une personne qui chante, like a person that sings. So there's lots of ways you can kind of work around the gender thing. And then in Spanish, which is another language that I'm learning right now, I tend to use an E ending at the end of words. So like masculine is O and feminine is A. But something that's very popular right now is the E ending, which is the neutral Spanish ending. I've also seen some people combine them. So you get like AO. So like, cansado is tired. Cansada is tired, the feminine. And you could say cansade for the neutral. Or I've also seen cansadao, which isn't really the thing in Spanish. Like, it kind of makes it sound vaguely Portuguese, but I like it too. So there's options, but you can kind of do the same workarounds, like because person, persona is always feminine. That works. Anyway, yeah, and languages other than English, like romance languages that are gendered, it's challenging. But that's the answer to that. Thank you very much for your question, Stefan. Our next question comes from Sazzle Hogan, and they ask, I'm unable to make a monthly pledge through Patreon. What's the next best way to support you? Thank you very much for your question, Sazzle Hogan. I think the next best way to support me is to listen to my music on all the places that you listen to music. I will say right now there aren't a lot of options because I don't have anything on Spotify. I have 3 albums on Bandcamp. And I have albums on iTunes, so if you are an Apple Music listener, you could listen there. But coming very soon, it depends on when this video comes out, but if it's coming out in October, so next month, I'm going to be releasing a single. This is the first time talking about it. It's so exciting. Okay, so when that comes out, if you could just listen to that on loop, that would really help me out. But also sharing anything that I share, signing up for my newsletter, just generally chatting me up to your rich friends, recommending me as a voice teacher, like all those, there's lots and lots of ways. Like just think about how you would support anyone, like tell people who you think would benefit them, spread the word. Yeah, that's it. Just spread the word. Yeah, but if you are ever able to become a patron, that's dope too. So, options. Next question comes from Phil, and he says, what's your fave restaurant across the pond? Thank you for your question, Phil. So obviously I took these questions when I was in Ireland. I'm home now in Montreal. My favorite restaurant in Ireland. Like, to be quite honest, I have never been more broke in my entire life than I was as a grad student. So I'm going to be honest, I didn't eat out that often. When I did, I truly just loved like the classic, like Guinness, chips, and that was your whole dinner. That was a good night for me. I appreciated that. So any pub is the answer to that question. Thank you very much for your question, Phil. Let's find some more questions. Okay, Nicole asks, will you be releasing your graduate album publicly anytime soon? Great question. Okay, so I've been really tackling this question kind of in my head for a little while. I'm actually glad I waited like 2 months to film this because I didn't have the answer to a lot of these questions when you all first asked them. I'm not sure because I recorded 9, 10, 11, like 12 new songs as demos while I was in Ireland. And I'm going to release them someday. But I have a kind of quite a backlog of unreleased music right now. Like I have 7 unreleased songs from a project I did last January. Not the one that just passed, the one before that. 19, so 2018, we recorded 7 songs at McGill. Those aren't out yet. I would like to release those. Then I have the graduate album. And I also have another 12-song album of David Frischberg covers. Like, I have a problem of not releasing music that I record and don't know what the holdup is. So will these songs ever come out? Probably yes. But I need time, and I love to play the long game. I like to take my time. I like to make things just right. And that's why it's been 4 years since my last album came out. It's funny, I spend a lot of my time just listening to my own music, and I'm like, gee, it would be really nice if other people could listen to this music. Long story short, yes. When will it come out? I don't know. So thank you very much for your question, Nicole. Let's look up some more questions. Okay. Lou asks, how does your disability affect your daily life? Wow, that's a big question. So my disability, for those that don't know, I have chronic SI joint dysfunction, which causes chronic pain ranging from mild to severe. It has shaped literally my entire career. It has shaped the jobs I've taken. It's shaped the events that I go to. But like on a day-to-day, it really depends. When I was in Ireland, it shaped my life a lot because I didn't have a car. Grocery stores were far away. I had to rely a lot on Tesco delivery and stuff like that. So, how I planned my day was really set up around my disability. Although I will say I did a lot better in Ireland physically just because of the weather, I think. Now that I'm here, I don't really notice my disability as much, like unless it rains and then I really notice it. But like when the weather's normal and nice, I live in a really nice apartment and I can get around it quite easily, thankfully. And then I have a car. Whoops, knocking the camera. Oh boy. Then I have a car, so like if I have to go, like I got my hair cut today. What do you think? And I was able to get there easily. I didn't need to worry. But if I had to take the bus, it would be more challenging, and I'd probably need mobility aids. And I do have a cane, and I have a walker, like a rollator, 4-wheeled rollator. But the rollator's out of commission because airlines don't give a shit about mobility aids. Holy God! Like just flying around Ireland this year totally wrecked my rollator, and it needs like a complete overhaul. So I can't use that right now, which is a shame. But yeah, so how does my disability affect my everyday life? I think I answered the question pretty well. It also affects my life as a performer. Like I can't stand to sing, so I've chosen to get really good at the piano so that I can always sit while I sing. But it also makes it so that I don't prioritize touring and performance as much as I prioritize other streams of income. So royalties from songs and selling music and becoming a professional songwriter. Like I do a lot more podcast jingles than I used to, and I write for other people, and I'm looking for a publisher. So if anybody's out there wanting a really great songwriter for their catalog, call a bitch. But yeah, so it shaped it in a lot of different ways. And then there's other things, like because of my cane use, it aggravated a condition called thoracic outlet syndrome, which I made another video about. And so I'm on blood thinners basically for the rest of my life because of this history of blood clot, which was caused by it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. So long story short, yes, it affects my life, but I'm used to it because it's been 12 years. My camera stopped filming, so the frame is all shuffled. Okay, so as I was saying, Lou also asked, how is your experience with barriers in queer spaces? So I feel very strongly about this question because it's a big problem. Like in Montreal, there's just no accessible spaces anywhere. Like everywhere I go, I'm constantly fighting for people to, at the very least, just tell me if there's a few steps into the venue so that I can be prepared for that. Like, it's a problem. I'm not really sure how it is in other cities. Maybe like in some places that are newer. Montreal's quite old, so in newer places, maybe it's easier. But it's just really hard for any organization to find accessible spaces to hold events. And, alcohol-free and all ages events, too. I've been very lucky. Like, I have found a few places that prioritize, if they don't have step-free access, at least they do the bare minimum of like saying how many steps are into the venue. But some people don't even do that. So that's a problem. So if you are hosting an event, at the very least, accessibility statement, please just tell me how many steps are into the venue. Can I get to the washroom? That kind of thing. And even if your event's not queer, just any event at all, no matter how big or how small. Very important. So yeah, it's not great. I didn't go to too many queer events in Ireland, but I did find accessibility in Ireland was like way better than here in Montreal. So there's that. Next question. Brett asks, how does it feel being a badass? It feels great. I guess. Oh my gosh, is that all the questions? I think that's all the questions. Let's just see. I did put out on Instagram another call out, so maybe there'll be a few more questions. So Drew Moore asks, why is the tender flake so damn flaky? That's a great question. And all I can say to you, Drew, is I can't wait for Christmas to taste your tortilla again. I miss that tortilla. I missed it last year, and I'm excited for it this year. So I think that's going to be all the questions. Thank you. Thanks to everybody who gave questions for this video. Thanks to everybody who is a patron, who's a member of my Song Workshop Society. If you want to become a member, there's going to be a link in the end screen to my Patreon. And and to talking about Nicole's question, if you want to hear some of the songs that I wrote during my Masters in Ireland, I already have put up a few songs on my Patreon, so that would be the place to hear that until the real deal comes out. Okay, so that is all for today. I've been Renee, and I'll see you next time. Bye.